Coaching Soccer Weekly, episode 366, 2v2. Entertaining, educational, and inspiring soccer content to help make you a more effective coach, player, or soccer parent. Hello and welcome back to Coaching Soccer Weekly, presented by World Class Coaching. My name is Sega Verbinovich, and this is the podcast devoted to bringing you cutting-edge methods, techniques, and tactics for coaching soccer. It doesn't matter if you're an experienced coach who has been training teams for many years, or if you're new to coaching and working with the team for the very first time. There's something we can all do to take our coaching to the next level. Well, we had a really great weekend. I posted some YouTube clips. I posted like a highlight of the game that we're really going to be talking about. And then I also uploaded the full game as well. So if you want to check that out, you can look up Gladiator Soccer Academy on YouTube and you'll be able to find the highlights of our 2013-2012 game. That's really the one that I'm just going to be talking about later on. The first two games that we had, our 2014s played, I wasn't there. Heard they did really well though. Our 2011s, 2012s, thought we did okay. But the main game was the 2012-2013 game. I watched back the 2012 and 2013 game on VO and put some highlights together, and I also uploaded that on YouTube. So if you want to see that, just go search up Gladiator Soccer Academy and you'll be able to see both of those things. So usually I talk about the weekend games and then I talk about kind of the main subject. We're going to flip that around and it'll be obvious why I did that later on. So let's start with what we did during the week. During the week, we really started to work on 2v2s. The reason we did that was because our passing, receiving, and first touch in last weekend's game, so 2 weekends ago, just wasn't good enough. And it was getting frustrating for me. So what we did was we listened to our players. You know, I very famously talk about how I love not having a boss and having no one tell me what to do. And that's what I love about having my own business. But to be a successful business, you have to listen to your customers. And we have to listen to our players. So I think it's not even a debate at this point. Every single club that I know has a curriculum and they follow that curriculum. So 2 weeks of passing, maybe 2 weeks of shooting and 2 weeks of 1v1s and all that. It's tough for me to say that I agree with that because I think we have to listen and grow with our players. So when I see something that a player is struggling with, let's say they're struggling with shooting, to go back and continue to work on 1v1s and 1v1s and 1v1s when all they really need now is shooting training, it just doesn't make sense to me. So looking at games using VO, we analyze what the players need and what the team needs. And it's a very player-centered approach. But what's really interesting is that usually what ends up happening is the team needs to work on the same things. We see the same issues with every team, and I love that. And the reason I love that is because it shows that our players are paying attention and that the training is working. So we're lacking in certain things because we're not practicing those and we're excelling in other things that we do practice. So the 1v1s have been great. It's the passing, receiving, and the decision-making that aren't really to the standards where our 1v1s are. So we changed it up, and we did 2v2s this week. Why 2v2s? Because I still want to continue to work on our 1v1s, but I also really want to work on first touch. I want to work on passing. I want to work on receiving, but I still really, at the core, is that one-on-one. The 1v1. So 2v2s I absolutely love. So we started that and we really got into it the past couple of weeks. And to me, it's a game changer. So this episode will just be dedicated to that. I'll talk about how we do it in training and a lot of the coaching points, and then what I did in the game to really force our players to do 1v1s and to really play what I think is the right way. So 2v2s work like this. They work the exact same as 1v1s. So everyone is playing at the same time, but you're playing 2 against 2. So if we have 12 teams, we pull up our tournament app, which is a free app. It's called Tournaments. So you can find that on Apple Store or Google Store, whatever you use. You just search up Tournaments app and it'll come up. And then we'll divide, let's say we have 12. We'll divide them into 2 teams of 6. We'll give them each a letter, A, B, C, D, and so on until we get to whatever number of teams we have. Then the Tournaments app will automatically create a tournament. And then we'll say A against B, C against D, whatever the app does. Then we'll we'll let them play for 3 minutes. Then they'll sit down, we'll get their scores. We'll input that right into the app, and then we'll go into the next game, and so on and so forth. Whenever I start something, the very first part is always to let them play. Let them try and figure out the environment first. We don't want to start an environment and already put restrictions on it, because restrictions make things tougher. That's why we're restricting them to do something, because we want them to do other things with it, right? So we want them to get something out of it. So we take away certain parts, so the parts that we want will shine more. So for us, that first round, always, even now, is go out, play 2v2. Let's get into the game. Let's get into it, right? I want them to, usually for the first part, we'll do the moves still. We'll go through 2-3 moves. This week, these moves are fake shot Maradona. Last week we did scissors. This week we replaced scissors with sidestep. So fake shot Maradona and sidestep, that's this week. Last week was scissors. And I'll talk about why those 2 moves we used. So within that, they go, they play, they sit down. The first point now is to put these restrictions on the game. And here are the restrictions. Okay, so the kids will sit down. I will demonstrate. I'll ask 2 more players to come up with me and the other coach. And I'll say, okay, from now on, here are your options. When you receive the ball, you either get 1 touch, you either get 2 touch, but if you want to take more than 2 touch, you must do a move. Once you do that move, you can take as many touches as you want. Okay, and then I'll let them play. So I will demonstrate that. I'll have my other coach will pass me the ball. I'll 1 touch back to him. I'll take 1 touch that I'll pass back to him. That's 2 touches. And then I'll take a touch into the defender that I'm playing against. I'll say 1 touch, 2 touch, and then I'll do my move. And then they'll go play. Okay, so that's the end of the first round, and now going into the second round. So we start to play second round. And I'll also mention, in between, that it's the other team's job to call out if the other person doesn't do 1 touch, 2 touch move, and then it's their ball, right? So we're putting it in their hands from rules point of view, that they're kind of reffing their own game. And if there are any arguments, our rule is always rock, paper, scissors, because we don't want to argue. We don't want our players arguing. So just rock, paper, scissors to keep going. So just before I keep going, I do want to mention that if you want a different perspective on 2v2s, because we do it a little bit differently, you can always go and see Andy's podcast. So that's Coaching Inside the Box, and listen to how they do their 2v2s, which is a little bit different than how we do ours. So now the players come back in. It's the next round. Again, between every round, this is when we demonstrate. So I'll grab another partner to go against me and the other coach. And I'll say, at the beginning now of every match, you're going to call who you're playing against. So let's say me and the other coach are playing Johnny and Eric. As soon as they come on, I say, I got Johnny. The other coach has Eric. Okay. And that's your responsibility for the whole game, right? So we're starting to talk a little bit about defending, but defending is usually one of the last points that we make. So now the ball will be with the other coach, and I'll say, okay, Johnny is on me. What's the first thing that I should be doing? And the answer I'm looking for is scan. So the first thing that I should be doing when I don't have the ball is scanning. I need to see what's going on around me so I can assess the situation and make a good decision. Now the question is, what am I scanning for? Well, the answer that I usually get is space. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, I'm scanning for space. I don't necessarily need space, but I'm scanning for it. What I'm more scanning for is the player that's on me. I'm looking to see, where is he in relation to me? Is he giving me space? Is he staying close to me? And that's really the most important thing. So the first example that we go through is the player is giving me space. So Johnny is giving me space. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to receive the ball, and then I ask, where's my first touch? My first touch is always into space. So that first touch is towards the defender because they're giving me space. And then we use either our sidestep or scissors. Okay, and we use that to attack the player and try and beat the player. Then the question is, what happens if you beat the player? What should you do? The answer is shoot. We want to shoot right away. What happens if you don't beat the player? Then it's fine. Then I'll say, okay, then we reset. Okay, we pass back. And then we need to find a way to get the ball back. So I don't give it to my teammate just to give it to my teammate. I give it to my teammate with the idea to get it back. Okay, so that's the first scenario. I have space in front of me. I attack. Within 2 touches, I do my move, try and get around him. I get around him, shoot. I don't get around him, I reset. The next situation that could happen is Johnny, instead of giving me space, won't give me space. He'll be on me. So in that position, I'm going to receive the ball with the foot that's furthest away from the defender, and I should be in a shielding position at that point. From there, what we're looking at is a fake shot Maradona. Okay, so they're very tight on us, and fake shot Maradona is a move that we use to create space. If we do the fake shot and the player bites and we're able to turn, great, then we turn and go. We don't need the actual Maradona part. However, if we do the fake shot, they come with us, and then they come with us again. Sorry, they fall for the fake shot. Then we'll pull behind the leg. It's more like a pullback, not a pull behind the leg. Then they'll bite again. Then we do our Maradona, and there we go. Okay, so those are the 2 scenarios, and then we'll send them to play. So now the players have the idea of what they're looking at. And those are the only 2 options. Either you have space or you don't. Okay, there's no in between. There's no middle space. There's no too much. Those are your options. Either you have space or you don't have space. And it's up to the player to figure that out through skating. So I like to give my players options. I like to coach in absolutes. There's only these scenarios, and these are the options in these scenarios. Okay? And what that allows is for creativity, because the players now see the field and see all these different scenarios, right, that we've gone through, okay, in the 1v1s, in our rondos, in our 2v2s, in our 1v1s plus 1s. So they have all this information of what's going on, okay, and it's up to them to make the decision, and that's really where the creativity part comes. And what's interesting is now players on our team, all of them will know what to look for. So if I see my teammate in space, then I know when I give them the ball, they're going to dribble. So that's going to affect how I'm going to react to that. Versus I know that if I give a player the ball when they're in a shielding position, that's going to change how I'm going to interact with that player after I pass them the ball, and which foot I should pass them the ball to. So then the players play, again, same thing, come off, demonstration. Now we talk about defending. Okay, right before I talk about defending, I usually do another one that really emphasizes first touch into space, and then I'll talk about defending. So the defending that we talk about is really, where should I be in either as a first defender or a second defender, right? So the first defender is 1v1. The second defender is the coach's player that he's defending, okay, has the ball, and my player that I'm defending doesn't. Okay, so I'm the second defender from the ball. From there, what we'll talk about is I want to be first in between the player and the net. Then I can adjust so that I can see both players. I can see my player and the player with the ball. I don't want to just see my player. I don't want to just see the player with the ball, because that gives me a blank spot where one of those two can do something, and that's not really what I want. I don't want them to have the upper hand. So the way that we remedy that is I want one toe towards the player with the ball, and then with my other leg, the other toe is facing my player, and that should open up. Okay, that should give you open hips, and you should be able to see both players. And if you can't, at that point, then you move backwards. Okay, and you start moving backwards until you start seeing that both players. And essentially what you're getting is you should be kind of making a triangle with those two players. And that's really the defending position. 1v1, we should know how to defend. As soon as the ball comes to my player, arm over the ball, surfboard, in between the ball and the net, fake attack, all those things, quick feet that we talk about endlessly in our 1v1s. And then we play. Usually our numbers, we've had 12, we've had 16, we've had 10. We've had a lot of different numbers. So usually what happens is if we don't have groups of 4, then the groups that's left over, they'll be playing 1v1 against each other. And then usually in the last 20 or 15 minutes, then we'll do a game where it's 4v4. If we have 8, 5v5, if we have 10, and so forth. And what that will do is during that game, we'll introduce one-touch, two-touch move while we're playing the actual game. Now, this weekend, our 2012s played and our 2013s played. That was our U11 game. Then we had a U12 game. Our U12 game was first. We went there, and I tried to do it. At the beginning of the game, I said, let's go one-touch, two-touch move. That's the way that we want to play. Didn't work at all. Didn't work at all. Players kind of did what they want because there were no consequences, essentially. So they just kind of went, played, and we didn't have any subs. However, the next game came, and we had 3 subs. So what I said was, this game we are playing one-touch, two-touch move. If you do not do one-touch, two-touch move, then you come off, and the next player goes on. This was the best game we've ever had, by far. Score didn't matter, not at all. And the amount of 1v1 moves that we did was to a completely different level. There were multiple times building through the backs where 4 out of 7 players were involved. 5 out of 7 players were involved. All 7 players were involved. This was the way that we need to play. This was everything that we tried to do and have been trying to do. Now, having said all that, the team that we played against was a very weak team. So that's something to consider. But I've never been happier with their performance. And here's the way the game worked. Okay, and we went over this on the Zoom session with our VO. VO is amazing. VO tracks the game. If you're interested in VO, there's a $200 off coupon in the show notes. Thanks, VO, for sponsoring the show. We absolutely love you. So let's talk about this game and what happened. At the game, one of the most common questions at the beginning is, Coach, can I play center mid? Coach, can I play this? Players asking about their positions. The one-touch, two-touch move philosophy, I'm going to call it a philosophy, I guess, gets rid of that. There is no more of that. Here's what happens. I had 3 players on the bench. All 3 players start on the bench. I start players in the positions that they normally want to play. Within the first 2 minutes, a player doesn't do one-touch, two-touch move. So the player who's first on the bench comes on the field for that player. That player comes off the field. he goes to the end of the bench. Another 2 minutes go by, same thing. Next player goes in, that player goes out. Players will now go in at random positions, giving them a lot more experience in other positions. But more importantly, completely equal playing time. Completely equal playing time. Every single player is there doing one touch, two touch move. And if they don't, they come off, next player goes on. There is no politics, okay? It's what is on the field. Parents can see it. I can see it. Players can see it. Everyone can see that the way to play and the way to get playing time is to do the one touch, two touch move. And what you get at this point is some of the most incredible individual moments that I have seen. And those aren't just 1v1 moments. Those are through balls. That's one touch passing. We had, and I think I put this in the highlight video, we had like a stretch of 2-3 minutes where it was one touch, two touch passing. And then we had other instances in the game, and it was 1v1s, like constantly just move after move, receive the ball, step over, go, receive the ball, pass, step over, sidestep, fake shot, Maradonas. And in the highlight video, what I was able to do was have highlights of every single highlight is a different player doing a 1v1 move. And that's unheard of. I have never seen a team that we have played against that more than two players went 1v1 and did a deceptive dribbling move. I've never seen that. And with us, within just one game, 7 or 8 they're in the highlights. And every single one of our players did it. Every single one of our players had a moment where they did 1v1s. And it's absolutely incredible to watch these players do everything that we train. Playing one touch passing, playing two touches, playing receiving, beating a player, step over here, sidestep there, Maradona there. Absolutely incredible. And moving forward, that is the way that we are going to play. And it's development. It is pure development. Because at this point now, the score really doesn't matter because everyone sees that we're working on something. Because all you hear me shout is one touch, two touch. I'll count it for them at the beginning of the game. A player will receive it. I'll say one. Another player, then he takes a touch, two. And then they'll do their move. Then you hear praise, right? Well done. Nice move. Good try. And then you can also take the approach of really looking at every individual player and what they need. It becomes very clear what a player needs to get better. If they receive it every time and they one touch or two touch, they need more help in their confidence of 1v1s and scanning. Sometimes the simple answer is they're not scanning, so they don't know what's going on. So when they receive the ball, they don't know which move to do, so they just get rid of it, right? We know that if a player just goes 1v1s every single time, it's probably because their head is down, right? So the 2v2 that we're now working on in our sessions, and then we're able to see the one touch, two touch move in the game, is really taking our development to the next level. And again, I spoke about this last week. What does winning look like? Well, for us, winning doesn't look like winning in the scoreboard. It looks like our last game. It looks like every single player able to do their moves that we work on in training. It looks like every single player being able to play one touch, two touch if they need to. It's a well-rounded approach to development. And then when they come back to training, we can go, okay, well, this game, last game, Johnny, every single shot they took, they missed the net. So Johnny's going downstairs, he's working on shooting. Okay. Eric, his 1v1 defending wasn't great. So Now, the coaching points of our 2v2s are different. They're a lot more defensively focused than we are attacking focused. So it really allows you to manipulate the training atmosphere, which is the most important environment, to tailor that to the child's needs. And that is a player-centered approach. To go in next week and just go, well, okay, today we're going to work on passing. Why? Because it's part of a curriculum. So what? What if that's just not what the player needs? If players can easily pass, receive, then why are we continuing to spend time on something that they've already excelled at? Right? Especially such a simple skill like passing, receiving, and to do it in a line format doesn't make sense. Now, the great thing about 1v1s is they'll never get to a high enough level, because what's great in the training session is that they're constantly playing against other players that are of their skill level. So they're always being pushed and they're always failing, succeeding in their 1v1s and now in their 2v2. So it's constantly competitive. Now, this weekend, all our teams are playing. And it'll be our 2013's, 2012's last game of the winter season. And then we'll be starting up in May as well. We have our first tournament, I think, the first weekend of May. But we'll wait and see. I think we're on a wait list or something. But the rest of our teams are playing. Other than our 2010s, who it will be their last game, I will be trying to do this with every single team. Now, the thing is, if you don't have subs, it's very hard to enforce it, right? Because there's really no penalty. The only thing I could think of is take a player off, but I don't know how realistic that is in the game. And to give the other team an advantage like that, there's a fine line between development and kind of overdoing it, I think. So I don't think that's something that I'll do, but it was a really great game and something that I want to try again this weekend with our 2014s, our 2013s, 12s, and 11s as well. So I'll keep you posted next week on how that goes. Hopefully the audio quality is a little bit better this week and last week. I found a new software online that I can use to kind of change it. So still using the same old mic, but technology is fantastic. So hopefully you're enjoying that. And yeah, that's it from that point of view. And other than that, if you want to support me in any other way, you can always go into the Facebook group, Coaching Soccer Weekly, YouTube, Gladiator Soccer Academy, Instagram, Gladiator Soccer Academy. If you have any questions, you can post that in the Facebook group. And yeah, that's about it. So until next week, enjoy the journey, enjoy the moments, but most importantly, enjoy the game. Coaching Soccer Weekly is a production of world-class coaching. All rights reserved.
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end. And you can check out more of our videos right here. And if you haven't done so already, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and the subscribe button.